I had planned a trip to Italy for my graduation, but my sister ruined my passport so that I stayed to babysit her kids while she and her husband are relaxing. So I exposed her, and our dad did something that no one expected. My name is Eva, and I'm 22 years old. I live with my parents, and I'm counting down the days until my college graduation. Life should be pretty simple right now, but it isn't, thanks to my older sister Dana and her twins. Dana is 29, married, and lives in her own house across town. You'd think that having her own place would mean she'd handle her own childcare, but that's not how things work in our family. Ever since her twins were born 4 years ago, I've been her go-to babysitter. It started when I was just a freshman in college. Dana showed up at our house one day, carrying 2 tiny babies and a diaper bag. Eva, I have this really important meeting. Could you watch them for just an hour? That 1 hour turned into 2, then 3, and before I knew it, it was dark outside. When she finally came back, she had shopping bags in her hands and a guilty smile on her face. Thanks so much. You're such a natural with them. After that day, it became a regular thing. Dana would drop off the twins whenever she needed to run errands, go to appointments, or just wanted some me time. Sometimes it was for a few hours, other times for entire weekends. Dana, I have midterms coming up. I'd try to explain when she'd show up unannounced. I really need to study. Don't be dramatic, she'd say, already putting the twins' bags down in the living room. They mostly just sleep anyway. You can study while they nap. But anyone who's ever been around babies knows that's not how it works. Between the feeding, the diaper changes, and the constant attention they needed, studying became nearly impossible. I haven't seen my friends in weeks. I complained one day after she dropped the twins off for the 3rd weekend in a row. I need some time for myself too. Dana just rolled her eyes. What do you mean? You have plenty of free time. The babies don't take up that much of it. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Besides, isn't this what sisters are for? We need to help each other out. That became her favorite phrase, sisters should help each other. She'd say it every time I tried to protest, every time I mentioned my classes, my homework, or my social life. According to Dana, nothing was as important as being there for family, and so it went on, month after month, year after year. My college experience became a blur of babysitting duties mixed with desperate attempts to keep up with my studies. While my classmates were going to parties and making memories, I was learning how to type essays one-handed while rocking a crying baby to sleep. The twins grew from tiny, helpless infants into energetic toddlers, but Dana's expectations never changed. If anything, they increased. They're so much easier to handle now, she'd say. They can walk and talk and everything. It's basically like having little friends over. But 4-year-old friends still need constant supervision, entertainment, and care. They still take up every minute of your attention, whether they're trying to climb the bookshelf or drawing on the walls with markers. Finally, graduation day came and went. After 4 long years of juggling studies with impromptu babysitting duties, I was officially done with college. My friends and I decided to celebrate at our favorite cafe, the one where we'd spent countless hours studying and dreaming about the future. So what's next for everyone? Sarah asked, stirring her latte. We're all heading different ways soon. That's exactly what I wanted to talk about, Rachel chimed in. We should do something together before we all scatter across the country. One last adventure. What about Italy? I suggested. I've always wanted to go there. The idea hit like a spark in dry grass. Suddenly, everyone was talking at once, pulling out phones to check flights and accommodations. I couldn't believe this might actually happen, especially since my grandmother had given me $5,000 as a graduation gift. Look at these flight prices, Jessica exclaimed. If we book now, we could get really good deals. We spent the next few hours planning everything down to the smallest detail. By the time we left the cafe, we had our flights booked and hotel rooms reserved. The trip was set for just a few weeks away. I was floating on cloud 9 when I got home that evening. My parents had invited Dana and her family over for dinner, and I couldn't wait to share my exciting news. Italy, Donna's fork clattered against her plate. When exactly are you planning to go? 2nd week of July, I said, taking another bite of Mom's lasagna. We got amazing deals on the tickets. Dana's face turned an interesting shade of red. The 2nd week of July? Are you kidding me? I looked up, confused by her tone. What's wrong with July? That's when Tom and I are going on our trip. You knew that. You did this on purpose. What? No, I didn't know. You absolutely did this on purpose. Dana's voice was getting louder. You're trying to make sure you can't watch the twins while we're away. I put down my fork, my appetite suddenly gone. Dana, I didn't know about your trip. We just planned this today. Well, you need to cancel it, she said firmly. You can go to Italy anytime. We've already booked everything for our trip, and we need you to watch the kids. I can't cancel, I protested. I've already booked everything too. Besides, this is my only chance to travel with my friends before everyone moves away. Don't be ridiculous, Dana snapped. Your friends will still be around. My trip is more important. I haven't had a vacation in ages. You need to stay and watch the twins." I took a deep breath and met my sister's angry stare across the dinner table. "I'm not changing my plans, Dana. Everything's already booked and arranged. You can rebook. This is ridiculous. You're being completely selfish." "Selfish?" I felt my face getting hot. "I've spent the last 4 years dropping everything whenever you needed a babysitter. This might be my last chance to travel with my friends before we all move to different cities. Do you understand that? We'll never get this opportunity again." Dana slammed her hand on the table, making the silverware rattle. "And what am I supposed to do with the twins? Have you thought about that?" "Mom and Dad are too busy," Dana interrupted. "Mom's working overtime at the office and Dad's still recovering from his health issues. You know this." I watched Dad push his food around his plate, avoiding eye contact. He had been looking tired lately, that was true, but Dana was manipulating the situation, like she always did. "There's an easy solution," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hire a babysitter." Dana let out a harsh laugh. "A babysitter? I don't trust strangers with my kids. Besides, we're saving up to buy a house. We can't waste money on a babysitter when you're perfectly capable of watching them." I crossed my arms. "If you can afford a vacation, you can afford a babysitter. That's different. This trip is important for our marriage. Tom and I need this time together." Dana's voice took on that familiar guilt-tripping tone. "There's no problem here, Eva. You just need to stay with the twins like you always do. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. I felt something snap inside me. "You know what? I'm done arguing about this. I've made my decision. I'm going to Italy. Eva." "No." I stood up from the table. "I've spent years rearranging my life to accommodate you. I've missed parties, study groups, and time with friends because you needed a babysitter. Not anymore. You're not going to guilt me out of this trip. This isn't about guilt, this is about family responsibility. And what about your responsibility as a parent?" I shot back. "It's not my job to provide free childcare whenever you want it. If you need someone to watch the twins, hire a babysitter. I'm going to Italy with my friends, and that's final." Dana's face had turned an alarming shade of red. She opened her mouth to argue more, but I was already walking away from the table. I'd spent too many years letting her manipulate me with guilt and family obligation. But this time, I was choosing myself. The next 2 weeks were unusually quiet in our house. Mom and Dad tried to stay out of the fight between Dana and me, saying only that we needed to work things out ourselves. The silence from Dana was deafening. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits with the twins. It should have been peaceful, but instead, it felt like the calm before a storm. I spent the time packing and preparing for my trip, trying to ignore the knot of anxiety in my stomach. The day before my departure, I was going through my final checklist when I realized I'd forgotten to buy a few essential items. "I'm running to the store." I called out to Mom as I grabbed my car keys. "Need to pick up some last-minute things for tomorrow." I was gone for maybe an hour, fighting through the crowded store to find everything I needed. When I got back home, I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped through the door. The house was too quiet, yet I could hear the faint sound of children giggling from the living room. My heart started racing. I recognized those giggles. Jake and Mike were here. But why? Dana hadn't brought them over in 2 weeks. I rushed into the living room and froze. There, sitting cross-legged on the floor, were my nephews. And in their small hands was my passport. "No, no, no." I lunged forward, snatching the document from their grip. My hands were shaking as I held it. "Please, please, please be okay." But it wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. When I opened the passport, my stomach dropped. Where my photo should have been, there was just a ragged hole, the edges clearly cut with scissors. The pages were covered in colorful scribbles, red, blue, green, and purple marker streaks crossing over every single page. Even the official stamps and visa pages were completely defaced. I started screaming. I couldn't help it. All the stress, all the frustration, all the careful planning, gone in an instant. Hot tears rolled down my cheeks as I stared at the ruined document. My passport, I collapsed onto the couch, clutching the destroyed booklet to my chest. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not when I was less than 24 hours away from my dream trip. The sound of my screams echoed through the house, bouncing off the walls like my shattered dreams of Italy. Through my tears, I noticed something else. There wasn't a single adult in sight. Who had left the twins alone with my passport? And where had they gotten scissors? Mom, Dad, and Dana burst into the living room, drawn by my screams. I held up my destroyed passport, hands still shaking. Look what they did. I choked out between sobs. "Look at my passport." Dana's face showed no surprise. Instead, she crossed her arms and clicked her tongue disapprovingly, looking every bit the condescending older sister she'd always been. "Eva, you really need to be more careful with your important documents. How many times have I told you not to leave things lying around where the kids can get them? I stared at her in disbelief as she turned to our parents, her voice suddenly calm and reasonable, like she was discussing the weather instead of my ruined travel plans. You know how careless Eva can be. She probably left her passport out on the bed or something. The twins are curious, they just found it and wanted to play. Are you kidding me? I jumped up from the couch, my legs shaking with anger. That's impossible. I never leave my things out, especially when the twins are here. I've learned that lesson over 4 years of babysitting them. Dana raised an eyebrow, the picture of innocent confusion. Well, clearly you didn't learn it well enough. Oh, that's rich coming from you. My voice was getting louder, echoing off the walls. If I'm so careless, why do you always leave your kids with me? Why trust such an irresponsible person with your precious twins? Mom and Dad stood silently, looking between us like they were watching a tennis match. I could see the worry in Mom's eyes, the way Dad's hands were clenched at his sides. They'd never seen me this angry before. And another thing, I continued, fury building in my chest like a storm. My passport was in my suitcase, in a locked suitcase. And inside that, it was in a zippered security pocket, inside a folder with other documents. Are you trying to tell me the twins managed to break into all of that by themselves? I watched Dana's face carefully as I listed each security measure. For a split second, something flickered in her eyes, but it vanished quickly, replaced by that mask of calm concern she wore so well. The same expression she used when convincing me to watch the twins just for a few hours that would turn into days. I don't know how it happened, she said smoothly, each word calculated. Kids can be very resourceful when they want to be. But there's no point trying to place blame here. The fact is, you clearly weren't careful enough with your documents. The twins are 4 years old. They can't be held responsible for this. You're the adult, Eva. This is your fault. The calculated innocence in her voice made me feel sick. 4 years of giving in to her demands. 4 years of rearranging my life to suit her needs, 4 years of missed opportunities and canceled plans, and this was how she repaid me. Dana turned to our parents, her voice dripping with false sympathy. Well, since Eva won't be able to go on her trip now, she can watch the twins while Tom and I go on our vacation. It works out perfectly, actually. She smiled that familiar smile, the one she'd used countless times when dumping her responsibilities on me. The room started spinning, and I could feel bile rising in my throat. I collapsed onto the couch, violent sobs racking my body. Through my tears I could see Mom's shocked expression and Dad's clenched jaw. The twins stood in the corner, unusually quiet, their small faces confused by the adult drama unfolding before them. They kept looking between their mother and me, clearly unsure whether they'd done something wrong. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, I managed to catch my breath. A strange calm settled over me as I looked up at my father. It was the kind of calm that comes after a storm, when you realize you have nothing left to lose. Dad, I said, my voice hoarse from crying. Dana did this. She orchestrated the whole thing. Those little boys didn't get into my suitcase by themselves. My hands were trembling, but my voice was steady. The time for being the compliant little sister was over. Dana's laugh was sharp and dismissive, cutting through the tension like a blade. Oh please. You're being ridiculous now. You need to prove such serious accusations before throwing them around, Eva. Where's your evidence? Her confidence was absolute. The confidence of someone who'd always gotten away with everything. The condescension in her voice made my hands shake, but before I could respond, Dad spoke up. His voice was quiet but firm as he turned to face his grandsons. I'd never seen him look so serious. Jake, Mike, come here for a minute. He knelt down to their level, his kind eyes meeting theirs. Can you tell Grandpa where you got Aunt Eva's passport? The twins exchanged glances, then Jake stepped forward, bouncing slightly on his toes like he always did when he was excited to share something. Mommy gave it to us, he announced proudly. She said we were going to surprise Aunt Eva. Mike nodded enthusiastically, not wanting to be left out. Yeah. Mommy said Aunt Eva had an ugly picture in her passport and we should cut it out. She gave us the big scissors from the kitchen. And the markers too, Jake added, his face lighting up at the memory. Mommy said we could make it pretty with lots of colors. She said, and Eva would be so happy. A heavy silence fell over the room, broken only by the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the corner. Dana's face had gone pale, her earlier competence evaporating as her own children innocently revealed her scheme. She opened her mouth to speak but no words came out. For the first time in my memory, my perfect older sister was speechless. Mom's hand was pressed against her mouth in horror, her eyes moving between her daughters like she was seeing us both for the first time. Dad's expression had turned to stone, his earlier patience replaced by something I'd never seen before. And Dana, my perfect manipulative older sister, finally looked scared. What happened next would be forever etched in my memory. Dad, who had never so much as raised his voice in all my years, suddenly exploded. What is wrong with you? His roar made everyone in the room jump. The twins clutched each other, their eyes wide with fear. Have you completely lost your mind, Dana? Dana took a step back, her face white as chalk. Dad, don't you dare try to explain this away. His hands were shaking as he pointed at her. This isn't just some childish prank. You deliberately destroyed your sister's passport. You manipulated your own children into helping you sabotage Eva's trip. Mom pulled the twins close to her, trying to shield them from the confrontation. I sat frozen on the couch, watching my father unleash years of pent-up frustration. We have always helped you, Dana. Your mother and I have bent over backwards to support you. Eva has sacrificed her entire college experience to be your personal babysitter, and this is how you repay her kindness? By acting like a complete madwoman? Dana's lips quivered. You just needed? Dad's laugh was bitter. You've crossed every line there is to cross. Well, let me tell you something. That agreement we had about helping you buy a house? Consider it cancelled. The color drained from Dana's face. What? No, Dad, please. That $200,000? It's not going to you anymore. I'm giving it to Eva instead. She can use it to buy her own apartment, far away from your manipulation and control. His voice was steel. As for you, you'll get your inheritance when I'm dead, and not a day sooner. Dana burst into tears, mascara running down her cheeks. She looked to Mom for support, but Mom just shook her head slowly. I'm so disappointed in you, Dana, Mom said quietly, her voice heavy with sadness. I never thought you'd do something like this. I don't even recognize the person you've become. The silence that followed was deafening. My ruined passport still lay on the coffee table, a reminder of everything that had just imploded in our family. Of course, I couldn't go to Italy the next day. My dream trip was effectively cancelled, at least for now. But my friends, proving why they were the best people I knew, refused to go without me. We'll reschedule, Sarah had said when I called to tell her what happened. It'll take what, a couple months to get a new passport? We'll wait. All of you, I'd asked, touched by their loyalty. Of course, all of us, Rachel chimed in on our group chat. Italy's been there for 1,000 years. It can wait a little longer. Jessica had already started researching how to change our bookings. Most of the airlines and hotels have flexible policies. We might lose a small fee, but it's worth it to go together. Their support meant everything to me. While my sister had tried to destroy my plans, my friends were proving that real family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who choose to wait for you, who refuse to let your dreams be crushed by someone else's selfishness. Sometime later, I was finally boarding a plane to Italy, new passport in hand. My friends had managed to rebook everything with minimal fees. A few in change penalties was nothing compared to the joy of keeping our dream trip intact. I still can't believe we're actually here, Sarah said as our plane took off. I squeezed her hand, grateful for friends who had waited for me. Italy was everything I'd dreamed of and more. We wandered through Rome's ancient streets, marveling at the Colosseum and throwing coins in the Trevi Fountain. In Florence, we spent hours in the Uffizi Gallery, then climbed to the top of the Duomo. Venice's canals were even more magical than I'd imagined, especially at sunset when the water turned golden. This gelato alone was worth the wait, Rachel declared one afternoon as we sat by the Spanish Steps. And look at these photos. They're going to make amazing Christmas cards. But the best part wasn't just the sightseeing, it was the freedom. For the first time in 4 years, I didn't have to check my phone constantly for messages from Dana. No last-minute babysitting emergencies, no guilt trips, no manipulations. Just me, my friends, and the adventure we'd planned together. Back home, things had changed dramatically. The house was peaceful now, without the constant chaos of the twins running around or Dana's demands echoing through the halls. Dad had already started the process of transferring the house money to my name instead of Dana's. I found a nice 2-bedroom apartment near the city center. I told Mom over coffee one morning after returning from Italy. It's perfect for starting my new job. She smiled, looking more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. Your father and I are so proud of you, sweetheart. You've handled everything with such grace. Dana hadn't been to the house since the passport incident. Mom still called her occasionally, keeping the line of communication open but distant. According to Mom, Dana had quit her job to stay home with the twins, though we all suspected it had more to do with not being able to find free childcare anymore. She's learning to be a real mother, Mom said during one of our talks. It's about time. Dad remained firm in his decision about the money. Actions have consequences, he'd say whenever Mom brought up Dana. She's an adult who made a choice to hurt her sister. I'm not going to reward that behavior.
I canceled my girlfriend's stay at a luxury resort that I paid.
The twins still asked about me sometimes. According to Mom's reports from her phone calls with Dana, I missed them. But I knew maintaining distance was necessary for now. Maybe someday, when they were older, I could have a relationship with them that wasn't tangled up in their mother's manipulation. In the meantime, I was building my own life. The Italy trip had given me more than just beautiful memories. It had shown me what I was capable of when I stopped letting others control my choices. My new apartment was a fresh start, a space that was truly mine, where no one could show up unannounced demanding favors. You know what the best part is? I asked my friends during our weekly dinner meetup. I finally feel like I'm living my own life, not just being a supporting character in Dana's. Sometimes I catch myself feeling guilty about how things turned out, the family rift, Dad's harsh stance, the twins growing up without their aunt. But then I remember my destroyed passport and the calculated cruelty behind it. And while Dana may have lost a babysitter, I gained something far more valuable, my freedom.